It's been a long day, Carol. It's been a... Amen, she says. Carol says, amen. It's a long day. Why do we do this on hump day? Why do we do this on hump day? We should do this on post-hump day. Or Humpty Hump Day. Hi, welcome to Monkey Time. We're a live call-in cable access show. I know you don't call until about 25 minutes after, but but you can. The number's 996-6775. Feel free to call up. Can I just say that, unfortunately, I didn't take very good footage, but Flanders Gallery has some really, really neat stuff this month. Last Friday was First Friday, and the Flanders Gallery has some really neat stuff, some pictures, some color shots, fields of color with Braille, taken from Thoreau's Walden, all along one wall, and then some other really, really cool music-related sculptures, including some rotating turntables and all kinds of mics and just really odd little sculpture things. I suppose we could show a little bit of that, Carol, but I took out the tape. Don't worry about it. The footage wasn't very good, and I was, it's First Friday, you're a little drunk, you're on your bicycle, you can relate. So, also, it's funny because Art Space gets a bad rap, Carol. You know Raleigh's Art Space right downtown? It's kind of a communal space where you can get your own studio, and then they have visiting artists, emerging artists, they call it studios. But then they have galleries that actually bring artists that show art from artists from all over the country. I think they should focus a little bit more on North Carolina, but that's okay. They bring artists from all over. And I was talking with somebody as I was riding around First Friday. Some would say stumbling. No, it wasn't that bad. I try not to get too drunk when I'm on my bike. Although, Carol, I'm not quite sure what the legality of DWI on two wheels is. You can get one. You can get one, she says. I mean, I figured you could get one. I'm just wondering if it's the same, the same percentage. It must be. Because, everybody should be treated alike, right? The law should apply equally to everybody, every American adult citizen, except if you're gay. Then you don't get to get married. Carol, a customer came into the store. I had one of those little cards that say, vote against Amendment 1. And he was just like, well, what is this? And I knew exactly what it was. Or I knew he knew exactly what it was. And I kept saying, well, I can't get married. And he said, yes, you can. Meaning I could get married to a woman, right? I didn't. I was behind the counter. I was on the clock. I try to be professional in my book selling when I'm at the book and music store. I try to be professional. Well, succeed sometimes, but I'm at a disadvantage, Carol. When a customer's across the counter and they want to argue gay politics with me, I've got both hands tied behind my back, right? And I can't really argue too well. So. But that really galled me. Oh, you can get married. All you got to do is marry a woman. And it was just so insulting at a really personally offensive level, deeply personal level. All you have to do is deny who you are and just do what I do. Be like me and you can get civil rights. That's what they're saying. Did you see the It Gets Better video that just came out at BYU, Carol? A bunch of BYU, BYU is Brigham Young University, and the Mormon Church was one of the most organized forces and money-raising forces in California for Proposition 8 that outlawed, gay marriage there. Or actually, I think wrote it into the Constitution. I forget exactly which. Not that the practical difference is really that great. However, here, our Amendment 1, the practical difference is great, because of how vaguely the amendment is worded. We've been over this before. Anyway, at BYU, right, Brigham Young University, the Mormons are heavily anti-gay. There's now one of these It Gets Better videos that talks to the kids, or to college students who are out at BYU University. If you just Google Brigham Young University, It Gets Better, go to YouTube and search, you'll find it. The problem, though, with this video, Carol, is that they don't really talk about the deep-seated anti-gay nature of the Mormon religion and many religions in general. It's like in the Mormon religion, as long as you're celibate, you're allowed to talk about it now at BYU, Carol. You won't get expelled since, I think, 2007. They changed the rules, so you won't get expelled if you just say, I'm gay. They just changed that at BYU in 2006, 2007. You just can't act on it. And that's exactly what this customer was trying to tell me. Oh, you can get married. It's just you can say you're gay, but you just can't be who you are, right? That is so, it's so pinched and insulting and aggressively anti-human, inhuman, aggressively inhuman to say to somebody that, oh, we'll accept you as long as you don't act on who you are. It's just despicable, so don't buy that. And unfortunately, as good as this BYU college student It Gets Better video is, some of them are really skeptical about it getting better, Carol. I got to give them credit for being honest. But, ultimately they talk about how they came out, their friends were supportive, their family were supportive. Generally they've gotten support. Throughout this video, there's just not never really the acknowledgement that, okay, now what I can do is actually love another person of the same sex. Not sex, but actually love. And the BYU student code still, this is Mitt Romney's religion, right? The BYU, and they hate talking about this stuff. They hate talking about the stuff about Jesus came to the Native Americans, Carol. Mormons. They hate it when you bring it up. You're insulting their religion. How dare you bring this up in a political conversation? Your religion believes that Jesus came to the Native Americans and that the priestly authority of Jesus Christ left the world after Jesus died and got taken up to heaven and came back to the world with Joseph Smith in the United States, right? That priestly authority, these are their words. And they don't like to talk about that either. Let's not even get started on the planets after you die. Seriously, they get all outraged when you bring up that these are bonkers beliefs that Jesus actually talked to the Native Americans. This is not what any other, Jesus religion believes. Say it again. Oh, they were a lost tribe of Israel. That's right. Yeah,
no genetic link at all.
It's bonkers. But they don't. So they kind of conveniently leave that aside when they talk to you about their religion these days in the political sphere. Except if they leave that aside, one of the core tenets of their book, Carol, then why can't they leave aside the anti-gay garbage? Oh, because they've got that weird thing about marriage where they're insecure about marriage because of their history, so they've become the lead, yay, marriage. It's really clear what's happening with the Mormons and the anti-gay stuff. Anyway, the point is the BYU It Gets Better video is interesting, especially if you're a young gay or lesbian kid. Listen to these people and their courage and their strength. And they say things like, we love you, gay and lesbian kids out there. Even though we don't know you, we've never met you, right? We're with you. And that's really powerful. Carol, are we with them? We're with the gay and lesbian kids who are struggling. We are. We've been there. No, I'm not with the Mormons. Well, Mormons are Mormons. Some are good, some are bad. But the gay kids struggling, we're with you. And that's a really powerful message. You're not alone, and you can get through this. So that's good. But overall, ultimately, none of those kids who are so still stuck in the Mormon religion that they can't imagine staying with their families, having an emotional connection with them, and yet still liberating themselves from this absurd doctrine, that's where it just falls apart for me. It really does. And the emotional connection to religion and the family and the friends and the people and the social links is really where a lot of the religious, the guilt about leaving a religion comes from. You don't have to just cut it all off. You really can ease yourself away from the more doctrinaire, ridiculous, absurd parts of the religious doctrine. That's what I mean by doctrinaire. The book says this, and we ignore that part of the book, but not this part, but this. That part of religion, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And they just don't, they just don't see that that's an option out of this conundrum that they're in. Let go of the idea that any religion worth its salt would deny you basic love. There. And still be, accept your family as best you can. Let them accept you as best they can. Move on from there. All right, so what do we got to talk about, Carol? This Friday the 13th, I believe, it's 25 days before the May 8th primary, and that's the deadline. You have until 25 days before the election, which in this case for the primary is May 8th, to register or change your registration or whatever, excuse me. Heartburn. That's what I get for eating. I rush home from work, I eat, devour food, and come here. Which is fine, don't get me wrong, but that's what that was. So, Friday the 13th is the last day to postmark your registration if you're not registered to vote. I'm just saying, you need to do that. Because, Carol, now that Santorum's dropped out, we all know this is pretty obvious stuff, but now that Santorum's dropped out, and given the lukewarm support that Mitt Romney has among many of the hardcore faithful of the Republican Party, it may be that the only thing getting people out is going to be this anti-gay amendment to vote. There it is, the referendum. That's what it's going to look like on your ballot. You want to vote against. Constitutional amendment to provide that marriage between one man and one woman is the only domestic legal union that shall be valid or recognized in this state. That last part, that's the part that's vague, that's never been tried in any other state. It's not like North Carolina is just joining all these other states now that have done this. We are adding new, broad-reaching language that is, I'm not going to say definitely what it's going to do, but there is a very good chance that it is going to open up a Pandora's box of court cases as people try to challenge all kinds of things, including legal agreements between straight, unmarried couples. This amendment is so bizarre and so vague in its language. It's new. No one's ever done language that broad. Marriage between one man and one woman is the only domestic legal union. That is not a legal term, Carol. That's new. Domestic legal union. Well, there are all kinds of legal agreements between straight unmarried people. Now, I don't like this notion, Carol, that the way we're going to win this is by denying the gayness of it and appealing only to the, look what it's going to do to straight people. But it looks like this could open up a Pandora's box of stuff with visitation rights, adoptions, all kinds of stuff. Guardianships. It's unclear. It's unclear what this is going to do. So, anyway, oh yeah. But we do know one thing it's going to do. Gay and lesbian couples, where one couple is employed by a government agency in North Carolina, or one person is employed by a government agency in North Carolina, and the other partner gets their health insurance through that person employed by a government agency, in this case usually Chapel Hill or Durham, are the two main ones, if not the only ones in North Carolina where this is happening. The children of that couple will have their health insurance revoked if the Amendment 1, pro-Amendment 1 people have their way, and if this passes, the next thing they're going to do, the very next thing, is go after Chapel Hill and Durham to force them to yank any kind of domestic partner benefits for same-sex couples. There are already same-sex couples in Durham, and who's one of whom works for the municipality of Chapel Hill or Durham, who are getting health insurance for their children because of these domestic legal arrangements, domestic partnership arrangements. This amendment, if it passes, the first thing they're going to go after is yanking those, which means kids will lose their health insurance. They want that, the Amendment 1 people. That's what they want. They want that arrangement where a child gets health insurance through the same-sex partner of somebody who works for the city of Durham or the city of Chapel Hill. They want that child to not be able to get health insurance anymore. That's what they want. That's what they're doing. All right, so can we talk about pink slime? So there was the, pink slime, it's horrible. And then there was the, this is ridiculous, it's a scare, you're losing, your jobs are being lost, and this is just ridiculous, it's just beef. I love that. And you know what, Carol, my favorite is the governors in this, the governor of the state where BPI, Beef Products Incorporated, we are pink slime. That governor, when he said that this is good for childhood obesity because it's lean, it makes beef, ground beef. You buy ground beef and instead you're getting like scrapings from bones and tendons and gristle that they then process and grind up. But it's less fatty, Carol. Bone is less fatty than meat. You see, Carol. And he actually said this is important for the epidemic of childhood obesity is this garbage. That it used to be illegal when the butcher kind of put his thumb on the scale. You know, not just illegal, I'm sorry, immoral. You know, you're looking this way, yeah, I'll take a pound of that ground beef too over there. And the butcher's like, oh yeah, he pushes down on the scale. Yeah, that's a pound right there. That kind of crap used to be something everybody could get behind. It's like, you know, that's bad. That's exactly what this is. They took crap that they were feeding dogs and cats, right? Carol, the leftovers. And I love this argument. All of a sudden, all these conservatives have discovered Native American culture. Well, they use all the parts of the buffalo, and we should be doing that too. And it's like, what? Come on, they knew what they were doing. They had to use all the parts of the buffalo. What these people are doing, what Beef Products International is doing, is allowing the people that sell you ground beef to include up to, 30% or 20% of this garbage so that they make more money and you don't know that you're getting a lesser quality of meat. It's just beef. No, it's gristle. The nutritive value is nowhere near the same. I want to hear any of these conservatives going, it's just beef. This scare is costing jobs. It's completely overblown. And, you know, there may be some people who are completely overblown on the pink slime scare. I don't have TV. I have, you know, a VCR or a DVD player and, you know, and Netflix and the internet and all that. That's enough. But I don't watch cable news, right? So I am absolutely convinced, Carol, that it's entirely possible that ABC News went completely bonkers over the top on this, right? That's what they do. I understand that. I'm not denying that there's a scare, could be a scare element here. But when you look at the scare and then you look at the backlash, it's just beef, and then you're a real person instead of one of those two people, you look at the facts, you see that pink slime really, really, really is garbage. And the fact that they're not telling you that ammonia, Carol, it's a process, not an ingredient, Carol. It's part of the processing. So when they spray it with a little puff is what they're describing it as, Carol. I love you got to read what the beef people are saying. A little puff of ammonia at the end, you know? It's like, oh, just a little puff, just like, you know, my grandma used to spray, you know, the wrists, a little behind the ears, because the blood vessels, kids, if you don't know this, the reason you put the cologne, the Axe spray, please, if you're using Axe, please stop. Please stop. Trust me, I talk to teachers, and you know they have to deal with you boys who use Axe all the time. It really stinks. So anyway, the blood vessels are very close to the surface there. So just a little puff of ammonia on the beef, Carol. Make the beef a little bit more attractive, right? That's what they're saying. Just a little puff of ammonia at the end, right? Oh, it's so funny when you look at the facts. It's stuff they used to just feed to dogs, garbage they used to just feed to dogs and cats, which, if you like dogs and cats, Carol, there's a whole other issue there, right? Healthy eating for dogs and cats. Okay, well we won't even touch that because that's way too far over into the animal rights realm for some, but I don't know. Why wouldn't you feed your cat or dog something that's good for them instead of garbage scraped off the floor, the hooves and crap? And seriously, that's what we're talking about. Carol, why is there a limit on the percentage of what is it? Machine separated meat? Mechanically separated meat. Why is there a limit on the percentage of mechanically separated meat you can put in stuff, Carol? Why? Why does the government say, well, it's safe, but we're only going to let you put 20 to 30% of the total of this safe stuff? Why? Anybody? The number's right there. Who knows? Why? The USDA and the FDA said, well, it's safe, but you can only include this small percentage of the total in there. Why? Calcium. The problem with mechanically separated meat, and really, you have to look in the devil's in the details. What this is they're taking the bone, you know, when they strip off the meat, they're taking the bone and scraping the tendons and the leftover meat and all the garbage gristle and everything. They're scraping it with machines into this big vat. All the bones. The hips, the legs, the arms, the skull probably. They're just scraping this stuff. So what is the result of that? Well, bone shavings. The calcium percentage in mechanically separated meat is so dramatically higher than in all other kinds of meat that the government, after saying it's safe, said, well, you know, that's a pretty high dose of calcium right there in that meat. Why don't we limit it to, I think it's 20, 25%, something like that, of the total, and still you can call it ground beef, right?
They're going to use that as a selling point now.
Now they're going to use, Carol's like, they're going to use it as a selling point. Now with more calcium, but the dose is so high because they're scraping the metal from the machines, is scraping the tendons and the gristle off the bones, and they're creating this sludge. And they're saying it's just beef. No, it's not even close. Nutritionally, it's not even close. Anybody who says it's just beef is a liar or a fool, and you can quote me on that. Liar or fool, one of the two. Greedy liar, because they lie for money, or a dumbass fool. Oh, I'll believe them. It's just beef. God dang it, Carol, I told myself I would never do the Southern accent as a sign of stupidity anymore. I am really sorry, y'all, because I know a lot of smart Southern accented people. It's just, you know, that's what I get for watching Justified. You ever seen that show? Oh man, season 2 of Justified was really good. I know I said I don't have TV, but that's what DVD players are for. I plowed through season 2 of Justified in like a weekend. And it's that Hollywood does the South stuff. Y'all know what I'm talking about if you've watched Justified. Timothy Oliphant, Carol, I rest my case. I don't think there's anybody gay in the show. Have they had anybody gay in Justified yet? I'm going to write a letter. But it's set in Harlan County, Kentucky, and you know there's definitely got that Hollywood does the South thing where you got the meth heads out and the sticks going on, you know, that kind of stuff, and it really gets old after a while. So I apologize again for doing that previously, that accent in a non-ironic way. But it's still a damn good show. Good characters. You know, it does the kind of monster of the week thing every once in a while, which is stupid. But, you know, the overall show generally is really, really thoughtful and well done. So, anyway, so what was I saying, Carol? Southern, oh, you're either a liar or a fool if you believe this, it's just beef garbage. Here's the thing. The calcium is so high that they have to limit it. So it's not completely safe. And also, if you go, I haven't done the Twitter page yet, but or the Twitter link yet, but I'll put it up after the show. The New York Times, December 30th, 2009, did an article where they researched how many times BPI, this safe company, BPI, beef, going to schools, had been pulled for salmonella and E. coli. 48 times in the years before the stuff had been pulled. Now remember, BPI was considered so safe by our friends at the USDA that they were exempted from inspections for things like salmonella and E. coli, Carol, for years. BPI, I kid you not, they were exempted in the regulations specifically because that spritz, that little puff of ammonia they sprayed to make the beef more attractive, and you know, that was so safe, the USDA and FDA said, that we don't even need to inspect it. And for years, they didn't inspect it. Turns out that below that, the people doing the school inspections were finding occasional reports of salmonella, and the inspections for individual schools, salmonella and E. coli coming from BPI. And when the New York Times presented this long-standing evidence, at least 4 dozen cases, where BPI products had salmonella or E. coli. The top brass who had exempted them from the inspections, exempted BPI, were like, oh, we weren't aware of that. These are the people below them in the schools talking about, no, we've got this problem with salmonella here. So when you hear people say, well, the USDA, the FDA said it was safe, that's not the end of the story. That's not the end of the argument. That's the beginning of your questioning. Well, who is the FDA? Who is the USDA? And then you start learning about the revolving door between beef industry lobbyists and chief executives and executive managers of the USDA. Oh, little puff of ammonia there was so safe we don't even have to inspect them. And then you start reading a little bit more about the FDA and the USDA, and you find out that for years, the inspectors on the ground going to these meat plants have been complaining that because of all the budget cuts, Republicans love to cut regulatory agencies. And what they're cutting is inspectors. When they do that, they love to cut the number of inspectors. What you find is that inspectors for the USDA and the FDA have been saying we can't possibly inspect all the stuff that's out there because we keep getting cut. And then you start saying, okay, well now suddenly, well the FDA says it's safe and the USDA says it's safe, is no longer an ending point of the conversation. Right, Carol? It's the beginning of your questioning about the system that allows the FDA and the USDA to say, oh, well, that process is safe, and we're not even going to bother inspecting them. And then years and years go by before the people at the top realize that there are constant, ongoing dozens of reports of Salmonella and E. coli in school food. 30 seconds? So when you look at the facts, the screamers, it's just beef, and the scare tactics, ABC, I need ratings, meet somewhere. And that somewhere is pink slime is garbage that should not be being fed to anybody, let alone children. The only reason it's safe is because of corruption.